15 years ago won't buy much of anything here today.
And why the millennial generation is starting to give up because they can't afford to get a good job or own a house.
8 million Venezuelans voting for this assembly, saying it's actually less than 3.
It is. And people are going to start rioting in the streets.
Was reported to have asked Putin for military support that would help him stay in power.
We will make America safe again. And yes, together, we will make America great again.
And they ignore him. And 8 more years goes by till Bernie himself finally admits to his sons, hey, I've been running a Ponzi scheme.
Does its dominance mean it can use the alliance for its own ends?
Since 1981, bond yields, also known as coupon rates, have just gone down and down and down.
Federal Reserve note will be your biggest financial liability. RTD Live Talk. Monday evening, the 29th day of the month of October. We're live, and I'm interested in finding out how your weekend went, first of all. And then second, as you can tell from the title of this video here, I'm interested in finding out your thoughts on how this current movement of the U.S. military forces down to the border between the United States of America and Mexico. And so got a couple articles I want to thumb through other than just hearing about it. Didn't really dive much into it, but it's very concerning, I must admit, because there's several things that can happen from this. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this thing plays out. So I want to get your take on it, as well as whatever else is on your mind. There's a lot of things happening as always. There's never not enough stories to talk about, but yet another thing worthy of talking about is, of course, the recent equity dip that happened today. And so I actually thumbed through a variety of market analysts, basically giving somewhat of a pep talk / sales pitch. And so it sounds very desperate how the financial analysts side to try to encourage people to keep hope alive and to, as they say, buy the dips. And I'm thinking like, man, this is going to be something that will be it'll be unforgettable. You know, this advice nowadays and the idea that all these market analysts are, leading people to the slaughter, in my opinion. And then, of course, for some reason, Peter Schiff was allowed on Fox Business. And, of course, Peter kept it straight, saying that, we're expecting the biggest correction and crash coming. And the young lady who was interviewing him was trying to cut him off at every moment she could. So the fact that Peter Schiff is back on mainstream news lets you know that the mainstream news or Fox News is interested in hearing about his take as things unwind. But before we dive any further, my name is Mike, host of RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. And if you're here, you're joining us because you care and you know some things that probably your peers don't. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. And as always, if we have any new viewers, let me know where you're watching us from in the chat over here. And then more importantly, if you are bold enough, if you're courageous enough to call in and let your voice be heard, there's a number right here, 833-LIVE-RTD, which is just for you to call in to share what's on your mind. So with that being the case, let's get right into it. So as I mentioned from the very title of this video here, or this talk for the night, give or take whatever else is on your mind. It's all about you guys. So let me know what you want to talk about. But the fact that we have, I heard it was 5,000. Now I hear it's 5,200 troops that are heading towards our border. And so, without knowing much about it, we got Shota from Miami. Welcome, my friend. Welcome. Appreciate you tuning in. What else? Let me go through the chat a little bit and see if any quick shout outs. It says, why send the military? What are we playing DHS billions for? Yeah. I think the DHS more so is for internal control. And so the goal is to keep the citizen population in check. So military going to the border. Now, one of the angles I want to hint at is, are they going down there guns loaded with commandments to defend our country, or to just protect and serve citizens here by not allowing people to cross that line? And now that we're talking about it, here's the idea that, whenever you have thousands of people in one area, there always have to be a knucklehead. And so what concerns me most is the idea that it is guaranteed to be several knuckleheads coming this way, whether they be from Honduras, Guatemala, or Mexican, or more than likely, They're probably paid individuals, because a lot of this stuff, is funded by somebody. And of course, we all can guess who. Won't name any names unless you want to mention in the chat. It's on you. But yeah, we are aware that this is a paid for propaganda movement that is right in time for this upcoming week with the midterm elections and whatnot. And of course, there's a certain party that's very desperate and willing to try anything. And so I believe this is a part of that. But with that being the case, there's going to be a couple knuckleheads on the Mexican side of the border that I'm sure is packing something that could be dangerous, going to throw something, or not quite sure. But then the response will be, what are the orders that will be given to defend themselves? So you have some grown men with M16s or whatever else sitting on this side, the military of a country. Then you have paid mercenaries and everybody else is in that crowd amongst children and women and things of that nature. Someone's going to throw a bomb over, someone's going to throw something or shoot something. And God forbid that our military opens up on a crowd of people, because that will spark, I'm going to be quite frankly with you, that would spark a complete civil war in this country. And I'll let you know why I believe that. It's because the governments, or not the government, the military is going to the border to protect and to keep out what's coming. And so, but you got to realize that a lot of the people beneath us, as far as Mexico, Honduras, they have a lot of family and friends already on this side of the border. And so you can imagine a lot of people are included in a caravan, family members of current residents here in this country here. So imagine if there's word that your family members were hurt or damaged or whatever, there's going to be some people in this country who's going to be coming towards the border behind our military. And it might be some paid individuals as well, but it could get very ugly very fast. And you got U.S. citizens or not clashing with foreign agents on the border surrounding our military. You better believe it's not going to be pretty. So those are all some things that I wanted to touch on tonight, get your thoughts. And, maybe I'm just, probably overthinking this thing, or maybe I'm not. I want to hear from you guys. And so what else we got here? It says 5,200 not including militia. Good point there. We got R. Rafterman from Missouri. Welcome. Says, can you play that video, Mike? Can you play that video? Which video are you talking about? Says Mike, it's also interesting that the Army has no jurisdiction inside the U.S., only the National Guard. If you deploy the Army, it's a coup d'etat. Very true, but I'm not 100% sure. I believe due to the... Don't forget, in September was National Preparedness Month. And so that was an executive order signed by our current president that basically stated that we are to prepare for something. Here we are 60 days later, give or take. And remember, you guys, I talk about my 60-day window of things that, really, the 60-day window that I believe we have of uncertainty, where anything can happen in that 60-day window, in November being the last 30 days of that window there. And so between now and that time frame, I'm anticipating some type of, event or unforeseen, catastrophic false flag, whatever it might be, market correction. Ain't no telling. But in the next 30 days, as we approach the end of this month here, just be aware and be attentive and not be surprised if something come across the mainstream news saying that there was a, God forbid, another mass shooting on a bigger scale, or if there's some type of, it's situation down on the border, or who knows. But I'm still sticking with that 60-day window of just, for me more so because I'm conscious of it, just trying to stay prayed up and just, really, because it's something that's outside of our control. But I believe through prayer we can definitely, probably dial it back or get the Lord involved, basically, because that's our only real true help. So with that being the case, keep it right there. It says Democrat needs votes, so they want them in the sanctuary cities. Very true. So here's the thing. If you let all the illegal immigrants in and you can put them in these sanctuary cities or whatever, the whole goal is to basically give people the illusion that they can come here and benefit from all the blessings that citizens have as far as all of the health care, Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, all the whatever benefits we have here. They want a piece of that pie in exchange for a vote on election day. And so we'll see how this all plays out. But definitely, if we have any believers out there, yeah, you might want to be conscientious of that particular angle there when you pray that the Lord, definitely does our nation well, because everyone's looking at us around the world. Everyone's looking at how this 5,200 goes down the border. Spirit King says, Mike, exactly only in an official emergency can the army defend the country, which is why Trump made sure to have a MSS machine ready to tell people it's an attack and declare martial law. Right. So Spirit, like I mentioned, I think I heard or read that we possibly are already under martial law a while back. So don't I'm not 100%, but in case if we're not, then that is a good reason to deploy or to call for a martial law type situation, even though I've never encountered or anything of that nature in my lifetime. So it's all new for me, and I'm sure a lot of you guys as well. It says, Mike, it has already started. It says, the Black Swan, Mark, are you okay? You seem a little down. Patrick James, not down at all, just concerned. My stance has always been I'm a concerned citizen, father, husband, all that good stuff. And so when things impact me on the home front, even though the border is far from Michigan, it still impacts me because, I'm a citizen of this country, and everything that our government does impacts us directly. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm aware of what's going on. You can't prevent anything, but to be aware is better than anything. And then we factor in this market correction that's underway right now. And some of the videos I was watching, I meant to actually, try to crop and record some. But I see, it looks like market analysts and financial advisors right now, I'm sure, are becoming salesmen. They're becoming hype men because a lot of people, I'm sure, are concerned. I put out a tweet earlier saying that, I'm really concerned and somewhat empathetic for those that have based their entire lives on the illusion of being able to put aside funds and receive it in the future. Jason, Super Chat, you says you do a great job. I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you. And so one thing that concerns me is the idea that people have put aside their entire lifestyles anticipating one day being able to withdraw. And I'm sad to say, if you've been a follower, it's nothing new to you, but it's something that I'm very alarmed and concerned with because, it's one of them things where I don't believe people will be able to withdraw what they put in. And so it leads me to believe the idea that now we got all these market analysts and whatnot telling people that, this is one. I got to pull it up. Because it was a guy, he's supposed to be some credible guy, but they actually had to dig deep to find this information because basically he went back over the farthest he can go was 10 years. And basically what he's saying was that the market, a 10 or 11% market correction is normal, is average. And so it's going according to the S&P. And he drew a chart and had all the bells and whistles. It looked real pretty, little pretty presentation. And at the end of that presentation, he was like, I'm not worried about it. These things happen all the time. I'm like, they might have happened all the time, but not under the conditions that we're under now, where everything is artificial. I would imagine that you guys can agree that there's nothing that's authentic these days. We have manipulation, and every area has been artificially propped up because of monetary policy, and we're reaching a point of just complete debt saturation to where, how bad does this thing have to get before people realize that, something is wrong with this system and it's not sustainable? But I'm gonna try to pull it up. Let me see here. I gotta find it. But it was about 6 or 7 minutes. It was quite informative. Where is it at? I want to find it. So what I can do, I'll pull up the Peter Schiff one, just so you guys can see. I won't play it because I don't want any strikes or whatnot. But just so you guys can see what the title of it. And so it's Peter Schiff, the markets. It says the markets are going to collapse due to Fed raising. And so if you know Peter Schiff, he shoots it straight. He was basically telling them that, this is not no normal correction. This is it right here. This is the beginning of the crash. This is it. It's coming. And so I remember watching a lot of Peter Schiff videos back in the day, replays, of course, while in this fall season, he was saying this is a bubble. It's about to pop. Then sure enough, that next year, September, October, when it was officially announced we were in a recession a year later, because it takes 2 quarters for people to actually come to their senses numerically or statistically. And we can actually see now that, things aren't really all that good. So, but this is a video you guys want to check out. It's real short, but it's definitely, it'll be worth your time because Peter shoots it straight. And so with that being the case, let me get to some because I feel like I'm missing some things in the chat here. It says 176 million South Americans. If the caravan gets into the floodgates will open, no one knows how much they were bribed by the CEA for this mission. So yeah, that's the thing. Like statistically, I'm not sure what the numbers are in the caravans, but you think about the idea that people are walking on foot through countries. They must have, because you just, okay, put it like this. You don't get people 3 countries down, Honduras, Guatemala, Mexico, walk thousands of miles unless they were told or promised something on the receiving end when they get to the promised land. Because think about the people are walking, this is just a biblical analogy, of course, the Israelites leaving the promised, or leaving Egypt to go to the promised land and walking through the desert with all those conditions. It's just, I couldn't imagine walking several thousand, 100 miles or whatever it might be on foot. Give or take, I'm sure there's some buses and vans in there. People getting rides. They get up here any way they can. And they were promised something. So the question will be, what were they promised? And if the promise is not met, how pissed would you be if you walked, you uprooted your family, your kids, you took everything you do have or don't is with you in your possession, and you were promised that you're going to get through this border one way or another. Them people going to get through this damn border. Watch what I'm saying. They getting through this border. And if they do get through this border, then what? Because then where are they going to go? What are they going to do? So we got states all along the border, Texas, what else around there? New Mexico, Phoenix, all them states are going to be, not Phoenix, Arizona, are going to be bombarded with people that are foreigners. So I'll be very concerned if I was along that border. Says the video of the person you just spoke about was brought back to Fox to hear what he knows. Yep, I do agree 100%. What else we got here? It says that emergency defend the country. What else we got? It says many elites have already sold their stocks, and the middle, poor class, and poor are most of the ones left in the stock market. Very true. And so I've done articles before. I've done articles before on how the big money players have already exited, and so that hits into the they've been exiting for the last year plus. Because I remember doing a video last year, 2016. Last year, the year before, when there was a market correction. I think that was last year. Yeah, last year. And from that point on, it was another alternative gentleman, or actually he works for some institute, Gold Institute, showed how that from that dip that happened in all the major indexes last year, I think it was, the amount of actual physical gold being purchased as the stock market dropped, the bid and physical possession of gold was going up. So we got all this sell off here, and then all of a sudden a spike. And so that was basically his saying that was a time where people realized that, hey, let me get out now and not risk any type of sudden collapse that they may not even know about themselves, but they know something is coming. And then when you got major hedge fund people saying it's crashing, it's coming, I'm not sure personally how anyone could really feel comfortable knowing that something is happening right now and it's a matter of time to where they'd be willing to jeopardize their entire financial future and chasing the possibility of it continue to increase. Like people might say $30,000, $40,000, and I believe it will get there after there's a major dip, and then that's going to be the increase of the new plunge protection team / the additional money that's going to be brought into existence as a response to the start of the recession is going to prop up. But with that being the case, I personally, just my opinion, I personally wouldn't ride none out. I personally, I'm like, the people who have the most to lose are the people who are willing to play along with this narrative, knowing that the game is, knowing that it's fixed. It's a rigged game against you, but people will still play it. So it is what it is. Says Mike, can you put the link to the video in the chat for reference? I can if it pops up. And I want to find that other video that of the market analyst who's actually sounds like a salesman, and he was pitching it hard. He was showing all types of data as to why you guys shouldn't panic. So yeah, that's what it is. All right, so phone lines are open, people. Call in, let me know your thoughts. I'm curious as to find out how this is going to play out. Let's walk through some scenarios of what could happen. Just to inform more people and keep everybody in the loop as to what's happening around them, because most people, I'm sure, don't sit around and watch the news as much as we probably do, given that we're into the find out the other side of the equation. It says, question, what are your thoughts of stores being converted to FEMA camps, like Walmarts into FEMA camps? Philman, I believe that was something that was initially started during the prior administration in anticipation of there being a different administration today, where it would have been easier to, to bring this thing to an end as far as the overall agenda of basically gutting our country from the foundations and basically becoming a part of this whole globalist initiative that was underway, or which still is a part of the equation. It's still going to happen because, there's no way that this whole idea of becoming a one world governing body along with that one world currency, it's still going to happen flat out, just because it's in the Bible and it's biblical. So it's written, so it's going to happen. And so the goal would be to I'm sorry, lost my thought. The economic truth. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Great job as always, Mike. You might want to check my new World Web of Debt Statistics series. Check on World Alternative Media Facts page. World Alternative Media Facts page. Economic truth. Appreciate that. I'll definitely look into that, my friend. Definitely will look into that. It says, what are your thoughts? Okay, so back on the FEMA thing. FEMA. So, yeah, the FEMA camps were part of the original plan to unwind this current system, knowing that there's going to be a good chunk of the population that pose a threat to the new shift to this one world government initiative that would be underway with the unification of Canada, Mexico, and United States, by removing borders, becoming of one likeness with one currency, just like the EU is now. And eventually China, Russia, all them countries going to be a part of that one belt, one road, will be a single government. So you got this continent, you got the European area, you got the one belt, one road, China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, all them countries. That'd be three unions right there. That would be the bulk of governments, structures. Then you got the continent of Africa, which China will probably own by the next 20 years, and then Australia. So those are 4 or 5 entities right there that would come together under one world government and be ruled out of Europe, which I believe it's still going to happen. So it's down the line. But I believe the FEMA camps was for the people who were not going to play along with our narrative. Hence the idea of certain areas that are more conservative, Bible Belt type areas where probably gun ownership is a sport, are those areas where FEMA is really strong. Because we don't have any here in Michigan that I'm aware of, but I want to say like Texas, Kentucky, Alabama, all along them areas where we got a lot of people who, don't mind causing problems down there if their rights are infringed upon, would definitely come out, with their guns and ready to let their voice be heard and felt. So I believe, that plan might still be in play. I'm not going to sit up here and say that, because we have a different candidate in office now, that everything is peaches and cream, because it's still them against us in relation to, a governing system that has suppressed us, for over 100 years now. And that has to do with our central banking system because, and this is, on a side note, but, I never really probably said this publicly, but I'll say it now just because, it's about that time. But I believe slavery still is alive. It's just a different form of slavery. And so it was a actual color issue as far as, African Americans being suppressed and enslaved as a part of the whole slave trade and all that stuff like that. But now we're under monetary slavery. So everyone now is, we're all servants of a single entity that rules this planet, and that is the banking system. So it's not as harsh because we've been given an illusion of choice, because in a capitalist society we can create and grow, but yet there's a limit to the ceiling above our heads, regardless of how much money or currency you're sitting on in your bank account. You can be a Jeff Bezos worth billions, but yet you're not the richest entity on this planet because his wealth is denominated in a debt instrument that's controlled by some people on top. You know who they are if you've been a follower of the channel. So that's just real talk to me. So anyway, it says, Mike, we talk much about the problems. What about the solutions? For example, the economic system is a scam. Can we do something besides hoping enough people watch our videos? Can we all here discuss that? Can we all here discuss that? Spirit wants solutions. Very good point, my friend. And so here's the thing, and I've been thinking about this for quite a while. And there's no one thing or one There's no game plan that you can actually strategize to go around what's currently happening, because we don't have the full story. All we know about is bits and pieces that allows us to formulate a narrative that we have here. And it's the fact that the system is rigged against us by A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And so, but that still is not enough information to really be able to make moves, because, you know, some people say, okay, just leave the country. But go where? They got the same problems we have. Some people say, you know, get guns, gold, and bullets in a getaway car. But to drive where? You know what I'm saying? So, like, you still go places, but yet people are going to still find you. And so I think, you know, like, what quote is that? A quote comes to mind. I think it's Albert Einstein. It says, you can't solve the problems with the same level of thinking that created them. Paraphrasing, I believe. And so here's the problem. Our problems are bigger than what any of us, you know, going online can talk about, or anything a politician can get on stage and promise us that they can do for us, because it goes a lot deeper than our natural realm. And so, you know, of course, so spirit, you know, not even being, you know, I believe you I'm not sure where you stand at. It says the real, okay, I got a quote here. Let me read this quote. Read quote here. What's the quote? It says, from Spirit says, quote, the economic anarchy of capitalist society as it exists today is, quote unquote, the real source of evil. I am convinced there is only one way, the establishment of a socialist economy. And so, you know, that's Albert Einstein. I think you shared that quote before. I disagree 100%, because that socialist economy that, you know, he's referring to is the idea of a governing body removing your rights to anything that you want to do with your life. And it's bad enough that we've been given this false illusion of freedom, but yet we've just been, it's all an illusion, man. I believe that, you know, most people right now aren't aware of a lot of things that would really change their narrative and their perspective if they knew about it. Hence the idea of our current monetary system. I mean, one thing that one thing I'm concerned about is there's a movement of, you know, get out of debt. So you got a lot of people, financial advisors, telling people to get out of debt. And I'm thinking, like, you know, how can you get out of debt, and your currency is a debt? So you can do everything you can to be responsible with your finances while your government is racking up your credit card, i.e., you know, through taxation. So you can be as free as you want, technically, but you're saving something that is a liability. So, you know, that alone would, if people were to wake up to that would hopefully change people's perspective on, you know, where you store and how you store your economic energy. And so that's one amongst many other things that most people are not really ready to confront. So that being the case, it's hard to come up with solutions when most people are not aware of the problem. So I think it's going to be an individual thing that would then equal a community. And what I mean by individual, as I was saying before, you know, like the problems we're facing has a limit to the natural realm of being able to solve it, because we don't know everything. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, nevertheless, next week, next month. And so I believe, and this is just me, Spirit, I'm gonna be real with you. I believe that, you know, our true answer and solution has to do with your current belief system. It's the idea of believing in something that's bigger, stronger than you, something that, you know, because everybody believes something. It's just a matter of what you choose to believe. And so I think the solution starts with your belief system, because when stuff hits the fan and you're under pressure, whatever you're made up of, whatever's inside of you the most as far as your core operating software system, i.e. your belief system, is what's going to come out. So if you think you're in this by yourself and that you can't, you know, do this, do that, then you're going to be S out of luck, because you need somebody on your team, my friend. Anyway, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
My name's Pat, and I'm calling from Alabama.
Pat from Alabama. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing fine. You were talking, grasping for the words, and you were saying economic slave.
Uh-huh.
And the truth is debt slave.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. It's hard, as I'm speaking, it's hard to come up with the exact words to say, but yet I'm glad you feel me, Pat. Thanks for helping me with that one.
Yeah, it's just a simple matter of being debt slaves. And everybody worships money,
mm-hmm.
and what they don't understand is all money is freedom.
Yeah.
That's what money represents.
I can agree with that.
You know, the more you get, the more vacations you can take, go out of country, whatnot, it works out pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's the way that goes.
Yeah, man.
And the other thing that I had on my mind tonight was, yeah, you can tell I've been talking to the captain.
It's all good.
The other thing I had on my mind tonight was that not only are these people being debt slaves, what I'm seeing is, and what you're preaching, brother, they don't know how to handle their money.
Yeah.
Instead of going out and renting that stereo that you liked, suffer through a month and go buy it, instead of suffering through 6 months of trying to pay for it, hoping you don't lose your job.
Yeah. Yeah. Or just hold off. I mean, like one thing that really is interesting in this country, because of the credit model and financing anything, we are encouraged and it used to be every year, that a cell phone would come out. The newest model, the 8, the 10, the 9, 11. Now it's every like 6 months, so that they're speeding it up because, the technology rate. So phones are coming out more and more. Like they came out a new version of a phone that just came out 3 months ago now. And so people are rushing out to go get it. And then I was watching a video earlier on a particular phone, and the guy was saying, the good thing about it is because if you just bought the new one, you can get this one because you can just finance it. I'm like, huh? I'm like, you telling people to go finance a phone? So we've been marketed to for that.
7 years.
Yeah.
Finance a car for 7 years. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And,
I agree.
By the by, I'll tell you that I've taken a step forward in my life, Mike.
What's that?
I've got one of them flat screens phones. It took me 3 days. Finally bashed in the screen. It's kind of a spider screen right now.
Yeah.
But I feel like I took a step forward since I went away from those little clap phones.
Yeah.
But I think I may be heading back.
Yeah. I mean, they make them. They're faster, smarter, and all other stuff. But then, like some of them don't have a Gorilla Glass, so that you drop them, and that's all she wrote. And hopefully you're covered with the plan, which costs money. So everything costs, and it's costing more and more. But yeah, man.
Even if you own property. Now, my son is well property, and everything I own, the son's going to get anyway. He's an only child.
Yeah.
So he's well propertied. And what we found out is he's taxed out of property. I mean, he's property poor.
Yeah.
Think about that. You never really get through paying a mortgage, now do you?
Good point. There's always going to be some type. There's either the tax aspect, property tax aspect, or if it's your primary residence, the upkeep of it. And if you're renting it, you still got to take. So I guess here's going to be the question: during this downtime when there's massive unemployment, because I believe we're going to probably have more unemployment than we have in prior years. For those that are like landlords or whatnot renting houses, what will be the outcome of having people that's in your property that can't pay you? And if the house is paid for, that's okay for you. But if it's not, the type of problems that the landlords are going to have, because I'm seeing more and more commercials that come on before my video about flipping these houses again and renting houses, and so that the whole real estate system is back up and running where people are actually trying to flip houses and stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out, because everything will be impacted by this current correction that's underway. So, but
I agree with you. And the other thing that landowners who rent houses and things, and houses are the worst thing you can own other than your own shelter.
Yeah.
They're going to be faced with, I'm better off with a renter in that house, keeping that house up, letting it stay warm and not go through the freeze and not go through the heats and all that, and maintaining that house and not paying any rent. I'm better off.
Yeah. I agree.
So you abandon the house, all it's going to do is deteriorate.
Yeah, and it's going to be vandalized flat out, because people, people are going to come in there and think something's in there, and so that's one of the problems with Detroit over the last umpteen years. If a house if a house doesn't have any activity coming in and out in a couple of days, there's people watching our house, and when you come back, the house will be open, doors gone, windows gone. Yeah. That's city
in
life.
Alabama, they're real proud if you do call the police. If you shoot somebody, just drag him out to the hog pen and throw him in, that's less feed you got to buy.
Yeah.
That's so a good they're real proud around here if you just call them.
Yeah. That's good, man.
They'll take care of all that meat and everything.
Good deal. Well, yeah. Hey, Pat, man, I appreciate you calling. Thanks for sharing what's on your mind, my friend. Enjoy your evening.
And thank you for being a blessing to everybody, Mike. I was serious about that.
I appreciate it, man.
Y'all have fun.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, man. It's Pat from Alabama. Okay, so I missed some things in the comment. So as always, people, the phone lines are open, 1-833-LIVE RTD. Give us a call. Let me know what's happening in your world. Let me know what's in your mind. And so I want to jump into an article since I'm on here. Let's talk about this a little bit. Let me get your thoughts on it, because I believe it is something that is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting how it plays out, because it will impact us all one way or another. So here's a video. It's a commercial now, so I go to this one. But it says the U.S. is sending 5,200 troops to the border. Here's what they can and can't do. It says they can fly aircraft and land support, but they can't detain anyone. So here's the thing. So off back, they can't detain anybody. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the concerns that I have about the military being on the border with, paid militia on the other side amongst families and everything like that, there's going to be some knuckleheads that's going to try to throw something, do something, shoot something towards the military. And, their primary mission is to keep them out. But when you've been fired upon, or there's a false flag or a bomb, how do you respond? How do you respond to that? And I can see something happening where they can let some things off in the crowd, and that changes the whole idea of defending the border to where we are it could start a civil war is what I'm getting at, I believe. It says President Donald Trump ordered 5,200 troops to harden the U.S.-Mexico border, where the so-called caravan of migrants from Central America seeking asylum and the new life in the U.S. arrives. A group of about 4,000 migrants from Honduras and Guatemala is currently 1,000 miles and weeks away from the U.S. border. It says here the forces deployed as part of the Operation Faithful Patriot, which include military police, pilots, and engineers, will be in the area from November 5th to December 15th. So here we have a time frame of a little bit over a month. And so once again, for those that are, not new to the channel, I mentioned about a couple weeks ago, the 60 days of things to be cautious of, be concerned about. This time frame, November 5th to December 15th, falls within that 60-day period, to where our military would be on the border, and thousands of people are on the border outside of them. And so the question will be, will those 4,000 possibly just come here, realize they can't get in and turn around, or will they try some other alternative, or try to just form some type of rush and try to come on through that border by force against an armed military? It says that would increase the number of U.S. military personnel at the southern frontier to roughly 7,000. So we have California, Arizona, and Texas Customs and Border Protection Chief. Yeah, it's about 5,000 more than American has in Syria. So 5,000 more than American has in Syria to fight ISIS. So once again, I'm sure a lot of people weren't aware of the fact that we're still in Syria, and I don't think we are at war with Syria. So why do we have troops there? Something to think about. So so that's a little article there that I wanted to touch on. Give you an idea of the time frame. So now we know from November 5th to December 15th, if you're in one of those bordering states, California, Arizona, Texas, think about having the military armed troops on your southern border. And those areas are very heavily populated with the Latino American population. And so, I'm gonna leave that alone. Leave that alone. What else we got here in the chat? It says believing. What we got here? It says Jesus said believe in yourself. Hey, just got in. Kenneth, what's up, my friend? Marriage is a scam. All right, but no real, we're not talking about marriage. That's a stretch if imagination. What else we got here? It says, believing in Rome didn't add value to existence in the long run. Speaking of Rome, did anybody catch Mike Maloney's latest video about Rome versus the U.S. and how the similarities and how Rome came to an end and how it compares to the same way that our country here, the U.S., seems to be along that same track? And he hinted at government deficits and government price and wage manipulation being the two primary things that he believes is coming this way. So, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, good night, Mike. This is Lennox calling back from Newark, New Jersey.
Lennox from New Jersey. How you doing, my friend? Can you speak up a little bit for me into your microphone?
All right, you hear me a little better? I'm calling you back on my cell phone again.
All right, I can hear you, but I'm concerned that the people in the audience may not be able to hear you because it's not as loud as that it could be probably. But go ahead. What's in your mind?
All right. Well, basically, as you was talking about the different situations with what's going on now.
Yeah.
The troops going down to the border and basically the different uneasiness of what will happen if it was to break out in massive, trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at this. I don't know if you remember, but do you remember when the levees that broke in Louisiana?
Yeah.
And basically, when the U.S. military was sent out and all the havoc that happened, especially a lot of it was on YouTube where they were showing where the army was going into different people's homes, and there was this one elderly woman that said that she had a pistol. And long story short, the U.S. Army, they went after her like she was a criminal. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So my whole situation is what I'm looking at, especially what you were saying, with family members that are here in the state, and then you got families that are outside of the border, and they able to get into some type of situation, massive, war or something, break out like a civil war,
Yeah. Now speaking of that, as I mentioned earlier, we have our military on the border. We have a caravan of thousands of people coming. Amongst a good portion of our crowd are paid activists / mercenaries / killers on that side of the border, mingled in with the people that are honestly looking to improve their lives. Then we have the idea that behind them are a lot of gang activity and drug activity along that border area. So I can see a great opportunity for the powers that be that's trying to really divide our country even further in this political season that we're in, causing some issues where they end up paying or doing whatever they do to send some people behind our military. And if our military is caged in, with riots or protests, it's going to be protests because most people don't want the military in their city or whatever. So it's going to be protests behind the military while they have caravan of immigrants in front of them. And so imagine being surrounded if you're a military and you feeling pressure, if somebody start throwing stuff from different angles, how accidents can happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's something that really, should be of concern to a lot of people.
Well, of course. I mean, especially if you in the Army and a situation like that happens, one of them, God forbid, one of them be a trigger happy, soldier. You already know what's going to happen.
Yeah, or a slippage. He accidentally slip up and accidentally shoot an innocent bystander. And I hit that will be on all the mainstream news sources. Military shoots innocent survivor, protests, riots, whatever. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But no, you see another thing. What I'm looking at. You remember in Obama's term how the destruction of Muammar Gaddafi's country, how that had happened.
Yeah.
You see the thing about it. What I'm seeing here, and it is quite sad that things like this is coming back home to the States. But unfortunately, America hasn't been too right to other countries either themselves.
Right.
And it's kind of sad that now all these situations and everything that's happening is coming about right now, especially in the time where a lot of the people that put into the retirement funds and put into all these different retirement programs, now they may have a possible chance that they may not even get it. And
right.
It's unfortunate for people, in my generation too, because what are we going to do? At the end of the day, now we're left out with our hands open, figuring out which corner to go through,
Right.
And that's kind of like how I feel right now.
Right.
And I appreciate, like I say again, I appreciate what you're doing, especially bringing the light to different individuals on thinking a different way. Because at the end of the day, as you say again, it's about getting your weight up. And at the end of the day, you need to know what is more valuable. You know,
right.
The dollar that you have in your hand, or you yourself trying to hold something of valuable asset.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to hold up your conversation. I know other people want to talk, but I just want to drop that, you know?
Yeah, I appreciate that, my friend. Thank you for calling. I appreciate that as always. Thanks for the support.
All right, brother. You have a good
All right, have a good one. Yeah, man, that's real talk. Real talk there. That's real talk. I had something on my mind I was going to say, but it'll come to me. It will come to me. Anyway, what else is going on, people? What have I missed in the chat? Feel free to call in 1-833-LIVE-RTD. Let your voice be heard. As always, we have a variety of opinions and whatnot, so I appreciate the back and forth. It says, watch out for Africa. The people are calling for Trump to stop the killings of farm owners. Yeah, man. And excuse me. I'm subscribed to a couple people that do news broadcasts out of different countries within the African continent, and I'm hearing from based upon their story, they're more alternative media as well. They're saying how Russia and China are really ramping up their presence in certain countries there, i.e. through investing. You know, that's why they're selling off all those treasuries. They're purchasing and funding and lending money to a lot of those distressed nations there in exchange for their mineral rights, property rights, you name it. And so China seems to be funding every single airport in all those countries. Why? Because A, they're lending them the money, and the clause is one government. If I probably Google it, one government in one of those countries told China no. So I think it was 315 million or something billion to build an airport, because one of the clause was that if you default on this payment, we're gonna take the airport. We're gonna take over the airport. It'll be ours. So they're basically lending money to these distressed countries, knowing that the likelihood of them being able to repay them back in dollars especially is very high. Therefore, there's going to be a massive amount of defaults on these loans, and hence China and Russia and all those other foreign investors will acquire new land in what is considered the wealthiest, naturally rich environment, or grounds on this planet that has been untapped primarily. So they're plotting and strategizing. So they're going to lend dollars, knowing that the dollar is going to have issues, the government's going to struggle, they get to take the land. Man, that's rip off. It says U.S. Florida Marquis, this may explain why there is troop buildup. I will do such. The Bible may not be as absolute. Okay, it says the Bible may not be absolute truth, but in it is a couple. When I think, how do I get 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years from now, something like the Bible for one day at a time from? Shay, I'm not understanding that thought there. I got the reference of 1,000 days. I think that's a reference to a piece of scripture in the Old Testament. It says, Mike, aren't U.S. soldiers in Iraq technically illegal aliens and terrorists? I do believe so, because they weren't invited there, and they have basically been, terrorizing and supporting opposition groups against a democratically elected official there, whether or not we want to accept it or not. The people voted them in there, so I'm going to leave it alone. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Oops. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Calling from Portland, Oregon.
Portland, Oregon. How you doing, my friend? What's your name?
Yes, sir. Doing good. I'm Nicodemus on the chat.
Okay.
Nicodemus. Yep.
Yes, sir. What's on your mind tonight?
So basically, I just want to take a moment of your time, and I want to make you aware of something.
Okay.
That it's conspiratorial, but I think there is enough proof to follow.
Okay.
To follow through with it.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, it's called, you ever heard of gematria?
Gematria. Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. No.
Okay, it's basically, okay, to the point is, in our news, they code these codes within the news. And let me just turn you on to a guy that can explain it. But basically, all this information that we're trying to figure out what's going on with the stock market, what's going on with this death or that death.
Mm-hmm.
They're all codes.
Yeah.
And okay, so I put it in the chat. That's the gematria.
Yeah.
And this guy right here breaks the code.
Okay. So what's some of the things that came from that? What's some of the truths that come from breaking that code?
Okay, so basically, they fake us out. They when you see a news title,
mm-hmm.
It will have something in quotations, and that quote will correspond to a number,
mm-hmm.
and that will tell you if it was real, if it was not, if it was terrorism, if it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It gives you the truth, to the Masons, Freemasons.
Interesting.
But yeah, this guy right here, he's got this website called Gematria Effect News,
okay.
And he breaks it down. He's got a little, like a $5 book that you could check out. But basically, if everybody's just aware of it and check it out, then maybe this news that makes no sense to us might start, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I feel you. So definitely there's was it numerology and all types of astrology, yeah. So there's all types of things that people have come up with to kind of give explanation to certain events and whatnot. So I would never dismiss those things, but I personally never dive into them just because I believe if you want to go find something, you can find something to back up whatever your point of your argument is. So I never looked into that stuff, but I'll definitely keep that in mind though. So I'll play around with it a little bit. So, but thanks for sharing that though. I appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, my friend. Have a good night.
Yeah, you too.
All right, bye. Yeah, man. Learn something every time. Appreciate you guys for sharing that information there. Yeah, there's some deep stuff out here, man. There's some deep stuff out here. What else we got going on here? What else is happening in the chat? It says, what's the conversation about UBI? What's happening with UBI? Says Gazillion says, Shane, do you the math? Fed rate is fake cash anyway, printed gajillion. Says UBI is mathematically impossible without the Federal Reserve. I do agree 100%, but as always, it's going to be issued as a everything that comes from political figures or the monetary authorities are always last minute because they create a problem. So they got to solve it, and they come out with some type of afterthought mechanism to do it, and it always expands the monetary supply, as always. So it has to come from somewhere, so it's going to happen. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. Tim, Colorado again.
Tim, how you doing, buddy? What's on your mind tonight?
Good. Hey, what are you thinking about this market? We've had the double top. Do you think this is it, or what are you thinking?
Don't know, but yet just the idea that there's so much, activity around the markets globally lets me know that there are some forces behind it that is trying to get the attention of someone or a group of people. And so I do believe that this is a part of what is coming. So whether it's now, next 30 days, next year, it's going to happen. So I don't know the timing, but I can see enough to know that I don't want to play with fire and get burned. So I prefer to opt out and not participate if I don't have to. That's just me. But what do you think?
Great answer. You're on your game as usual.
Thank you, my friend.
Hey, I owed you an answer too. I got to get some of my. I'm going to try and move my money in my 401ks into my wife's money into a stable position and not be gambling.
Yeah.
And with Fidelity, I can put it into it's not optional. I mean optimal, but I can put it into a government bond. So basically, your dollar it just stays as a dollar, but you're not on the market.
Yeah.
And I have another one that got put aside in cash. And then we're going to call the other ones tomorrow. But I'm going to move everything to the sidelines, so I'm not gambling. Granted, it's still all electronic, digital crap.
Yeah.
But for other reasons, I have to wait till the end of the year to before I can yank it and then, pay the government massive amounts of money. But
yeah,
there is a way to at least get out of the market in your 401k.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you did some homework behind that, man. So definitely want to, say thumbs up and wish you the best with it. And so, as always, like we're talking about solutions earlier, and I was hinting at the idea that there's no clear-cut strategy with any of this because this is all new to everybody. Other than some things that happened in the past, we still can't really compare it to prior years because now everything is digital. So we live in a digital world, which means that everything is done via computer or some type of zeros and ones behind it. So it's new for a lot of people. So yeah, to play along with something that that is rigged and to play, you're gambling in my opinion. So the fact that you said you're gonna not participate, wish you the best with that, and hey, do what you got to do, my friend. Definitely get your weight up.
Yeah, it is. It is gambling, and my weight is up. But speaking of weight,
yeah,
they smashed silver again today.
Yeah,
it's not as good as it was maybe 3 weeks ago or so, but I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, I'm not sure, did you have a chance to watch Mike Maloney's latest video tonight?
No, you interrupted him.
Yeah, I was.
He's next.
Okay, yeah. So definitely, you're gonna enjoy that. It's the typical Mike where he goes through history, but it's comparing now to back in the Roman days and how their country decayed through the deficit spending and government intervention with price controls, wage controls, and he compared it to what's currently now and what has happened, saying that in the days ahead, because of deficit spending, debt will be borrowed. They're going to devalue the currency, and then once we see price and wage control being implemented after inflation picks up, that's when we know everything is really going to come to an end. So it's very informative, but it's the same spin. But I think you enjoy it, my friend. But everybody should definitely watch that.
Yeah, I totally agree, and he's great. And I think we are a lot like Rome was. We're repeating history, but it is new, like you say. One more question. Everybody has an opinion on this.
Yeah.
Do you think we're going to hit deflation before we hit inflation? And if so, do you think it's going to be a couple of weeks, months?
Yes, I actually, and coming to think about it, I believe we're going to experience something that we've never, or not never, but something that we haven't experienced, or something I haven't been aware of during my lifetime, and that's stagflation. And so I believe that we will see both deflation and inflation at the same time. And we can kind of see a little bit of that now when it comes to the financial bubble in the housing market, stock market. So inflation are currently in a lot of the paper-based things, but yet deflation when it comes to all the consumer good items or whatnot. And so I can see the airlines industry is a good example of deflation, because right now prices are dropping due to the free market, competition's up, and so they're coming out with new ways to try to make more money, but people aren't buying tickets like they used to. So there's going to be a deflation in the consumption area while all the asset around us increase in price. So it's going to be a little bit of a problem, and I think that's currently underway now. So and it's ultimately deflation before inflation, but we're in stagflation, I believe, right now.
I agree. Stagflation's hard to deal with.
Yeah, man.
Okay, hey, great job, Mike. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Have a good night.
Okay.
All right, bye. Good one as always. Stagflation is currently here. I did an interview with can't think. It's in the RTD University page in reference to stagflation, and they did a very good job of basically hinting at the idea that it's, we're in stagflation at that time due to however you want to measure it or whatever, but prices are going up in places where it's artificially induced, and prices are going down in things that are more free market based, which is ultimately a problem because the cost of manufacturing and labor and goods and services for the manufacturers continues to go up, but they have to lower the price of their goods, cutting into their margin. Anyway, so did you ever get a chance to YouTube Chris Hedges? Chris Hedges. I don't know Chris Hedges. Who is Chris Hedge? Let me know. Says corporations and banks will keep control and people will die due to climate. Those that survive will be enslaved to the corporations. This is current path. I can see that. The climate aspect, I not too familiar with the whole climate aspect, global warming, global cooling, and I know that that's a part of the whole initiative to back the need for government control on a global venture where they're coming up with these bodies now that says that the earth is heating up, so we need a global governmental structure to monitor that. And so yeah, all that stuff plays into that one world, one government type of stuff. So I don't really know about the earth heating up and warming up. I'm sure it does, but it could be more so cyclical than full-fledged man-made. But I'll leave that alone. So I don't think faith carries those desires very far. It says I don't bet on DC, New York unscrewing themselves. Not sure what that conversation is about there. Says you name the industry or job is on the chopping block for robots. Yeah, very true. 100%. But as always, people, we're approaching the hour point, and so the goal is keep it 1 hour long. We had a lot of callers tonight, a lot of good thought, but definitely from the subject matter of this title is the idea of being cautious and being in tune with what's happening on the borders, because from November 5th to December 15th, that falls in that little 60-day window that I mentioned. That between that time frame, it just seems like we're being prepped and being groomed for some type of either foreseen or unforeseen event. Hence the idea of National Preparedness Month in September, which I never really heard of National Preparedness Month in reference to our president saying that we should prepare on all fronts, financially, in our homes and everything else. So I'm like, he's warning us for something that's going to happen or could happen this winter. So we are approaching the winter months. So keep that in mind. Says Chris Hedges, journalist, wrote American Farewell. Philman, let me Google that, because let me see. I don't know that offhand, but I'll check into Chris Hedges, American journalist. Okay. I see. So yeah, definitely I'll reach out to him at the recommendation of Philman. I appreciate that. I'll definitely reach out to that gentleman. Says Mike, you might not know about the climate, but even the UN thinks we're only 12 years while we can at least stop it. And so the question is stop from what? Like, freezing over or cooking ourselves or what? Because I personally don't put faith and confidence in these scientists that all have an agenda with their studies, given that they're funded by certain individuals and groups that favor any type of study that comes out with the results that are in favor of some type of global climate governmental control body. So I take all that with a grain of salt. So I never pay much attention to it, other than believing that in the long run this planet, is bound for a makeover anyway. So I don't really put much, thought into it. I know as a human, we're here to have dominion and to dominate this earth, not destroy it. But mankind's inherent nature of foolishness, unfortunately, we do more damage than good at times. But I'll leave that for another day. It's the fossil fuel, yeah. So this goal is transhumanism and high surveillance smart cities with high-tech tyranny. Many books have been written on the subject. Yep, I do believe it. Transhumanism, hence the idea of artificial intelligence. And, I read somewhere about a smart chip that people can try to put smart chips in people's head to make them more smarter. And yeah, so, if everything around us is smart, smartphone, smart house, smart car, smart this, smart that, what about humans? All those smart gadgets make us appear to be dumb, because if we depend upon a gadget for everything as far as information and knowledge, we're going to be left behind, especially if these robots, which is probably going to happen anyway, take on a mind of their own. So things to consider. Right on the globe. What else? Says Mike, there's no agenda. Even I can explain or do experiments to test those theories. Last time the Earth heated 4 degrees Celsius, 95% of all the Earth died on the Earth. Spirit King, yeah. So I wouldn't doubt that. But once again, like the example you're referring to of, he says the last time the Earth heated 4 degrees Celsius. When was that? If you don't mind sharing with me, because I'm not familiar with that. I am not a creation. I'm not of the creation Darwinism type of mindset. So I don't believe in Darwinism. And so Darwin, I don't think is no smarter than any of us, but yet he came up with a very convincing model that we all came from monkeys and stuff like that. So I don't really associate with monkeys like that. Says Hubble Space Telescope is working again. Yeah, I heard about that. Not sure what happened, why they shut it down. I'm sure they probably came across something they didn't want to see, if that could be the case. Says it was well before the last ice age. Ice age coming. Yeah, so once again, apart from the same scientists telling us these dates and times, we don't know when this ice age was, because if you are of the Darwinianism school of thought, then you'll probably would be willing to believe, information presented that says it was, 100 million years ago or something like that, along with, the monkeys and stuff like that, and amoebas, we came from one-cell organisms. And so those are more on the Darwinianism side, but yet on the creationist point of view is that it originated from a single source, and that source being a higher power. Then that's two different schools of thought. So it'll be hard to get in agreements on this Earth situation here if we're coming from two different schools of thought. But it's doable, though. I'm sure we can come to some type of agreement at the end of the day. It says, Mike, it was millions of years ago, one of the so-called mass extinction events. This has nothing to do with Darwin. Google that term. Mass extinction events, I don't doubt it. And so I'd imagine that's associated with the time the dinosaurs were wiped out. But yet, once again, when it comes to dinosaurs, there's pretty good evidence to saying dinosaurs didn't die off millions of years ago. They died off relatively in the last couple of 100 years. And so, but that's on another note. I'm not going to get into that. But I got some good apologetics that do a good job of giving a little bit more information from another viewpoint. And his name, the doctor who is a former high up in the Darwinism type side of business, when he came to himself and realized that there were some things that he himself couldn't explain, it opened his mind up to being able to come to the realization that there had to be some type of initial spark. And who that spark was is what led him down his pathway of trying to undo everything that he did in supporting the whole millions and billion years old stuff. So anyway, but I'll leave it alone. So people, it's been fun as always. And so we can go down a whole nother rabbit trail talking about science and things of that nature. And so that boils down to my initial thought before I took a call was solutions. It'll be hard to come up with solutions that fits the masses when there's certain things such as this Darwinism and creationism. Two different schools of thoughts would keep us from coming to agreement on one simple element, is that we are not the only source of high intelligence in existence. And if we can't agree upon that, then we are going to try to solve our own problems with the same type of mindset that is the reason for these problems. And then if that is the case, there's no hope for mankind, because I personally am not smart enough to be able to make the right decisions for millions and billions of people. But by faith, I believe there is someone who has our best interests in heart. So, but that's a faith issue. And so, faith is free will. So, everybody to each his own. But in order to have a true solution, the solution to me is Christ and the things that he promised those that believe. So, it's also it boils down to, what do you believe at the end of the day? So with that being the case, I'm gonna leave it right there. I promise. So as always, people in this corner here, connect with me on social media, any place I usually post stuff throughout the day. And then up here on this side, become a supporter of the Patreon, or your boy do set crypto and Bitcoin tip just as a tip or whatnot. If you enjoyed it and want to contribute to this program, I'd appreciate it. Other than that, we back at it tomorrow night, same time, same place. This week is going to be an interesting week because I have something in mind that I went to bat for you people, to help you. And so also going to have some Get Your Weight t-shirts up, so we're going to have some opportunity to represent and get people to ask us questions. What does it mean to get your weight up? And you can say, hey, you see what happened last week in the stock market? How much can you afford to lose? Then you tell them to get their weight up. They're like, what's that? Yeah, you don't want to be overly exposed to something that is rigged against you. But anyway, people, it's been fun as always. Have a good night. Leave a comment down below. If you're new, give us a thumbs up. Let me check how many people that gave us thumbs up, because we got a couple people online. So if you've enjoyed this conversation this evening, and if you've been around for a while, why not press the thumbs up button right below your screen there? Just show some support. And it also helps us get the channel out there more, so we can have more people come into the RTD community to be a blessing and to be a source of inspiration and information. Or a thumbs down, whatever suits you best. I appreciate it. Anyway, peace. Good night.